here, it is very surreal. And it does feel like I'm living in a dream a little bit.
Jake Paul, just days before his fight with Mike Tyson, was caught rethinking his decision to fight the baddest man on the planet, and he is coming out of his delusion. And now the reality of fighting the best of the best is hitting him hard. Talking to a private channel, he claimed that he is afraid of Mike Tyson beheading him now.
Insanely powerful, and I know he's taking it seriously. There was an article being written, and they wanted to interview him for it about me, and he said no. He's like, I'm in war mode, I'm not doing these stupid little interviews. So he's in kill mode. He wants to take my head off and go down as the legend who stopped.
For Jake Paul, talking about it and calling out Mike Tyson repeatedly was just a piece of cake. But now when the time has almost come, he is coming to reality with the realization of being in the ring with Mike Tyson, whose knockout ratio is more than him getting hit by his opponents.
It's a figment of my imagination what's happened, and I dreamed it and talked about it and manifested it, but now that it's here, it is very surreal.
We're talking about a classic heavyweight champ, Mike Tyson, squaring off against Jake Paul, who's more known for his YouTube antics than his boxing chops. It's like a clash of totally different worlds, right? Critics are calling it a total mismatch. Mike Tyson, with his knockout power and fearsome reputation, ruled the heavyweight division back in the late 80s and 90s. Now he's stepping back into the ring at 58, and folks are scratching their heads. Can you blame them? Likewise, Adam Catterall fondly recalled the 2020 exhibition match between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., appreciating it as a nostalgic encounter between two boxing icons. He supported the event because it was conducted respectfully, allowing both veterans to showcase their enduring talent without risking serious injury.
A couple of years ago, he had that exhibition fight with Roy Jones Jr., and I was all for it. I actually supported that because two legends of the game having a little bit of a trip down memory lane because the fire's still burning for him, showing everybody that nostalgia. They know how to defend themselves, they know how to make it look appealing, and they also know how to not hurt each other, if that makes sense. So therefore, I was all for them making that work and having a little bit of fun that night, and I think we all did have a little bit of fun that night when we saw those two guys have a go at it.
However, Catterall harbored reservations about Mike Tyson's next scheduled fight against Jake Paul. He pointed out that unlike Roy Jones Jr., who has a profound connection with the sport's history and ethics, Jake Paul comes from a markedly different sphere, social media entertainment.
I'm concerned about this one because Jake Paul ain't from this world, mate. This ain't his world. This is Iron Mike Tyson's world, and therefore, if he does take the mick a little bit, and if he does go a little bit too far, then what does Mike do? Mike's not for messing about.
Expanding on his views about Jake Paul, Catterall expressed doubts about Paul's genuine integration into the boxing world. He noted that while Paul has managed to carve out a space for himself in boxing, his journey doesn't mirror that of a traditional boxer who has spent years honing their craft through rigorous training and disciplined competition.
Fallen into the world of boxing. He's actually done a lot of good things for boxing because Amanda Serrano's on this card and he's done wonders for her career.
Yeah.
But he's fallen into the world of boxing. He's not a boxer. He's not from this world. And he's taking on, as Andy said a minute ago, one of the baddest men still on the planet today. It could be disastrous. It really could.
Then there's Jake Paul. The guy's undefeated, sure, but let's be honest. His track record's filled with fights against other celebs and retired athletes, not seasoned boxers. So putting him in the ring with someone like Tyson, that stirred up a whole lot of debate. People are questioning if this is even a real fight or just a spectacle. Ryan Garcia shared his thoughts on the much discussed Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight with a mix of realism and anticipation. However, Garcia also seemed intrigued by the potential outcome if his prediction doesn't pan out, showing a keen interest in the public's reaction, especially if Paul gets knocked out.
Bro, I bet Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is huge, bro. There's no way Jake Paul is taking this, bro.
Yeah, Jake Paul's not gonna knock him out, but I got Jake Paul winning by split decision, type shit.
Wayne, I want to see your live reaction when Jake Paul gets knocked out. I just want to, I need to see it, bro. Can you
what's your
record
hate
yourself?
towards him, though?
Is it fair to even compare their careers? Tyson's coming from an era of legends, and Jake, well, he's crafting his legacy in a whole new way. It's one of those things that's got everyone talking. What's gonna happen when these two actually face off? Ryan Garcia added a dose of skepticism to the fight, hinting at the possibility of a predetermined outcome.
The only way Jake Paul wins this fight is if they have it already coordinated for him to win. That's it. that's the only way. And has that happened in the sport before?
This fight, being the baddest of the century, is coming with a lot of controversies as well.
Got on social media and said, Mike, forget the script. Beat this guy. What do you say? Tell these people who keep saying that this fight is scripted for Jake Paul to win.
Well, just come to the fight and you'll see. Listen, I started Jake off and I'm gonna finish him.
UFC fighter Colby Covington recently stirred controversy by alleging that Jake Paul is involved in rigging his boxing matches, claiming that fighters like Tyron Woodley have been paid off to lose. During an episode of The Rush with Max Crosby, Covington cited multiple sources alleging that MMA stars, including Woodley, received hefty sums such as a rumored $5 million to take dives in fights against Paul.
I've heard a lot that they pay these guys off. You know, they got the machine behind them. They got, you know, Hollywood. He was a Lizzie McGuire star in Disney, and just so I call him Lispy McGuire because Jake's always lisping. Hey guys, you know, I'm gonna fight Mike Tyson. Yeah, I'm gonna feel so confident fighting Mike Tyson. 60-year-old Mike Tyson. That's gonna solidify my legacy as a boxer.
Both Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have consistently refuted claims that their upcoming fight is scripted or orchestrated in any way, asserting that the bout is a genuine contest with no predetermined outcomes. They both emphasize that this is a legitimate fight where each has something to prove.
I don't know if he's in his prime, he's fat. He should be lean and mean, he's fat and funky. I saw him with his shirt off the other day, he's fat. Did you start training already?
Buster Douglas was fat, am I right?
I know, but you're no Buster Douglas. He's not gonna win.
However, despite their denials, skepticism persists among some observers, who point to the excessive theatrics and promotional antics as indicators of a manufactured event rather than a serious athletic competition. The narrative took an intriguing turn when Mike Tyson labeled Jake Paul fat and funky. Instead of responding with indignation or ramping up his training publicly to counter the jibe, Jake chose to engage with humor. He posted a video wearing a fake fat suit, playfully dismissing Tyson's comments.
I don't know if he's in his prime, he's fat.
I'm not
He
fat.
should be lean and mean, he's fat and funky.
It's heavyweight.
He's fat.
Fuck you, Mike.
I don't know if he's in his prime, he's fat. He should be lean and mean, he's fat and funky. I saw him with his shirt off the other day, he's fat.
Amid this spectacle, Oscar De La Hoya has voiced concerns about the implications of such stunts on Jake Paul's career ambitions. De La Hoya has criticized the path Paul is taking, suggesting that these antics could detract from his credibility as a serious contender in the boxing world.
I think Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, look, it's one of those fights where, again, the world's gonna watch. It's gonna create new eyeballs for boxing. It's going to create a lot of news all over the world. But I stick to my message, and that is if Jake Paul wants to take the sport serious, then he should be fighting young guys who are top 15, top 10, not heroes and legends like Mike Tyson, who are 60 years old.
Thank you, buddy.
That's it.
This critique serves as a soft reminder to Jake Paul about boxing and what it will truly take to achieve his goal of becoming a world champion. It underscores the idea that respect and legacy in the boxing community are earned in the ring through genuine skill and heart, not through media manipulation or theatrical setups.
The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script. How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just
Like scripted in what way?
no, I don't know. I actually really like Jake Paul. It just seems so. It's odd, bro.
The timing. It's a timing.
I mean,
He
it's
fights
obviously
two-
odd.
No, he fights two no names, beats them both.
Well,
and
the
then,
whole Jake Paul thing is like, you know, he's fighting big money fights and fights. It almost seems like that he's like for sure gonna win to keep his record nice, which is like this last guy was apparently an Uber driver. I don't know if that's true or not. You see it on the internet.
Well, you said that if Mike Tyson, I think even if he loses, it's like it affects his legacy, but at the same time,
no, not
the
really.
money's so good. It's like
Mike, being 59 years old, will have to face two enemies in the ring, one Jake Paul and the other his age. But with age comes his experience, and this experience will make him win the fight only if Jake Paul doesn't exhaust him there. Roy Jones Jr. analyzed the fight and called it a win-win for Mike if this fight remains in 3 or 4 rounds.
No, I don't feel for Mike and how old he is. Mike is a very rugged guy.
You know, when I was in there with Mike, Mike still was hard to hit, and Mike still can hit hard as hell. So no reason to really fear for Mike. The only thing I fear for Mike is like if the fight goes beyond 4 or 5 rounds, then it could get problematic for Mike because of his age. But if he doesn't go beyond 4 or 5 rounds.
The trait that Roy Jones has to tackle Paul is his fight, because Jake Paul, even coming from a different background, is extremely powerful and agile.
So I think he'll come out, assess the situation, see how he can deal with Jake's size and Jake's power, because Jake does have power.
Many in the boxing world, including Terrence Crawford, approach the upcoming fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul with a mix of intrigue and concern. Crawford, like others, worries about whether Tyson's physical condition can withstand the demands of a rigorous match at his age.
Yeah, and do you have interest in seeing him fight Mike Tyson?
No.
Why not?
I don't. I think Mike Tyson is, you know, an icon in boxing, and he's done a lot for boxing in his own right. And I just think Mike is past his prime. Mike is old. I wouldn't want to see Mike go in the ring and get hurt.
Lennox Lewis, a former heavyweight champion, has also chimed in with some advice for Paul, cautioning him not to underestimate Tyson's lingering power, a testament to Tyson's feared reputation in the ring.
Yeah. Talk to the schmo for a second. We thought it'd be an exhibition, but it's going to be a real fight. You know this man well. Mike Tyson, he's fighting Jake Paul. What are your expectations for that big fight in Dallas, Texas?
I think it's going to be a good fight. I mean, you know, Mike Tyson, what he does is two-dimensional. He's going to come at you, trying to knock you out. Now, you got to try and stay away from him. Stay away from his power.
Some might be criticizing the fight, but Roy Jones Jr. thinks that this can be a piece of cake for Mike Tyson. He might have chosen a smaller and less mature fighter to get out of it easily.
Well, I felt like it was for him a much safer fight than fighting someone like myself, because for me, it's like, yeah, we both older, but we both know the game. Jake is learning the game, so it's a little bit easier to try to take a chance with a guy who's learning the game as opposed to a guy who knows the game.
On the flip side, Paul's youth and agility are seen as his main advantages, potentially allowing him to outmaneuver Tyson over the rounds. In anticipation, Paul has been focusing on dodging Tyson's notorious knockout punches and controlling the pace of the fight.
This motherfucker right now that everybody's gunning for, what's his name? Jake Paul.
How much money are we talking
about? Yeah, so let's just end it with that as we wrap this up. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. Who's going to win that?
Oh, I don't want to say anything, but you know, listen, because obviously we all love Mike Tyson. He's old though, man. Jake can hit. Jake can hit. You know, I think that fight can play out a couple different ways, but I think the longer it goes, I think Jake might be able to catch him. We'll see.
Wow.
Yeah, because I heard Jake got really good cardio, and
I mean, he's not a terrible boxer. I've watched all his fights. He's not a great boxer. He's nowhere near where Mike Tyson was. You know, if it was a 16-year-old Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul now, I would put every penny on that Mike Tyson. But
of course,
but age is a motherfucker, dude.
Public opinion is divided. Some fans are thrilled at the prospect of a Tyson victory, while others express concern for his well-being, sparking debates across social media about the prudence of this match.
Jake Paul is going to lose this fight even if he wins. And this fight might somehow be the worst decision of his career. Now, there's a lot of people that already think Jake Paul fixes his fights. Even Rampage Jackson says he doesn't think the knockouts look legit. Fans also claim it. Patty Pimblett, I don't know who the hell that is, but they said it as well. Basically, everyone's sentiment is if Jake Paul wins, he fixed the fight. Now, Jake has already been criticized a lot because he fights people who are UFC fighters instead of boxers. He brings people out of retirement. And honestly, just personally.
Evander Holyfield, who has his own storied history with Tyson, offered Paul strategic advice based on his experiences. He suggested that Paul should avoid getting too close, emphasizing the risk of Tyson's aggressive tactics.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what can happen. Yeah. Because, you know, it's with the confidence the other guy. I don't know how much confidence that Jake Paul have in all this. But you know he's gonna be a lot quicker, and if he stay close to Mike, then his chance of winning gonna be great.
Jake Paul, at 25 years old, stands 6 feet 1 inches with a professional record of 5-0, mostly against non-traditional boxers, showcasing his early yet unorthodox entry into the sport. In stark contrast, Mike Tyson, at 58, boasts a historic career with a record of 50-6, 44 by knockout, reflecting his long-standing dominance and profound impact on heavyweight boxing. Reflecting on their match, he noted Tyson's impressive stamina and ability to maintain intensity throughout the fight.
That's the real question. How much can Jake survive? That's the real question. Because Mike has what it takes to get anybody out of there. And I'm going to tell you this. When I boxed him 4 years ago, it was only 2-minute rounds, but surprisingly, he never really declined. He stayed the same the whole fight. And that surprised me. So if they're doing 2-minute rounds, Mike's not going to tire out. I already know that because I watched him do it.
Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn has labeled the bout as entertainment, noting its varied appeal among boxing enthusiasts. UFC star Conor McGregor has also weighed in, dismissing Paul's credentials and questioning his worthiness of stepping into the ring with the veteran Tyson. Each perspective adds layers to the narrative surrounding this much-anticipated clash, underscoring its complex blend of sport and spectacle.
Fan, and Mike Tyson's one of my favourite fighters of all time. But it's a big event, you know. But I find it quite sad that someone that's achieved as much as Mike Tyson is fighting at, what's he, 58, 50, something like that, and could lose to Jake Paul, but money's money, and money does strange things.
Hearn detailed his apprehensions about the matchup, deliberating over the potential upsides versus the detrimental effects it might have on the sport's integrity. He highlighted the stark contrast in perspectives between those who view the bout as a lucrative spectacle and those who cherish the traditional aspects of boxing.
When you weigh up the pros and cons, is this a good idea?
It depends, really. I think it's hard not being, they're not really boxing people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's one boxing person that really wants this fight to happen.
No.
So they're looking at it from a different angle. They're looking at it for numbers. They're looking at it for, hype. And I get it. I understand that this freak show may well do good numbers. But I think if you genuinely care about the sport and the history of the sport, and particularly the legacy of one of the greatest fighters of all time, it's not something you'd ever consider.
Furthermore, Hearn showed his frustration about the fight, distancing it from what he sees as authentic boxing. He critiqued the credibility of the match, emphasizing that it diverges from what true boxing aficionados appreciate, aligning more with a contrived exhibition than a legitimate athletic contest.
I don't think it's something that you'd ever see a real boxing person.
Hearn conveyed deep concerns and a sense of letdown when talking about a fight involving a revered figure from his childhood. As someone deeply passionate about boxing, Hearn struggles to accept seeing esteemed figures of the sport engage in matches that don't adhere to its long-standing values.
Jake Paul, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm a hardcore boxing fan. He's one of my heroes. I find it very sad. But it's a big event. I understand people are going to watch it. And it's entertainment, I guess, but for someone that idolised the guy growing up, yeah, not the best day.
Do you think Jake Paul gets any credibility if he beats Mike Tyson?
He's 58 years old.
Jake Paul might have done much for the sport of boxing, but he would not be able to win the respect for fighting a 59-year-old legend. Katie Taylor expressed her mixed feelings about the upcoming fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. She acknowledged Jake Paul's impressive transition from YouTuber to boxer, noting his business acumen and athletic improvements. Despite respecting Paul's hustle and progress, Taylor voiced her deep respect for Mike Tyson, hoping for his victory.
But then you have this young YouTuber guy, Jake Paul, who's an amazing businessman. He's improved so much as a fighter as well. He's a good athlete. He's young and fresh, and I just don't want him to hurt Mike Tyson. I don't want him to beat Mike Tyson, and I want Mike Tyson to come out obviously victorious just because of the respect I have.
Katie Taylor reflected on the complex dynamics of Jake Paul's upcoming fight with Mike Tyson, acknowledging the challenges Paul faces in this matchup. She recognized the problematic nature of the fight for Paul, considering Tyson's age and legendary status. Taylor expressed her thoughts on the situation.
It's a very tough pill to swallow. It's nearly like a lose-lose situation for Jake Paul, I think, isn't it? I mean, he's not going to get much credit for it because now Mike Tyson's 58 years old. But just how iconic Mike Tyson is, and You're right that Jake Paul has done so well for himself, and he's actually improving as a fighter as well. You can see those improvements. You can see that he's working hard in the gym. And
continuing her commentary, Taylor discussed her initial skepticism about Paul's involvement in professional boxing and how her perception has evolved. She acknowledged Paul's progress and hard work, which have significantly improved.
It's funny, a few years ago when Jake Paul was initially on one of these cards, I was thinking, what's this guy doing fighting on a card? I was nearly so critical of him fighting on a big stage like this, getting this opportunity. But here he is, a few years later. He's one of the biggest names in the sport, and he's done so well for himself. It's amazing.
Do you think Jake Paul can transform public perception and earn credibility as a serious boxer? Join the conversation below and share your views on whether Jake Paul's venture into boxing is good for the sport or if it undermines the legacy of true boxing legends. If you liked the video, do share it with the other boxing heads and don't forget to subscribe.